Ford finds itself in the eye of a storm. What was once hailed as a stalwart of forward-thinking electric mobility may now be wobbling under the weight of its own ambitions. The company's electrification efforts have hit a major snag, sparking what can only be described as a crisis, one that could send shockwaves throughout the entire auto industry. It recently emerged that Ford has halted production of its marquee EV model, the F-150 Lightning. With dealers flooded with tens of thousands of unsold electrified pickups and EV sales plummeting across the board, the warning sirens are blaring. The company's CEO, Jim Farley, has pivoted sharply, seemingly abandoning the push for full electrification and recommitting, in bold fashion, to the gas-powered vehicles that have defined Ford for decades. He said in no uncertain terms that the common man still craves affordable, traditional combustion models, not pricey electric alternatives. That messaging is playing out in brutal terms. Consumers appear to be shunning Ford's electric offerings in droves, and the company is bearing the financial scars. The scale of the losses is staggering. Ford is bracing for a loss of some $4.5 billion in its EV division this year, on top of last year's multi-billion-dollar deficit. At this rate, what was supposed to be a pillar of the auto giant's future profitability is bleeding red. The cumulative losses raise serious questions about how sustainable Ford's EV pivot is, especially as the rest of the industry watches with alarm. Sales figures tell a chilling story. In the third quarter of 2023, F-150 Lightning sales collapsed, declining by nearly 50% compared to the year before. That wasn't an isolated blip. Production ramp-ups led to what now looks like a glut. Around 92,000 EVs, many of them Lightnings, are stuck in dealer inventories across the United States, gathering dust. These aren't moving like gas models, which on average turn over in about 40 days. EVs are sitting nearly 92 days before selling, and in many cases, dealers are so wary of these electric models that they don't even want them on their lots. In a desperate attempt to ignite demand, Ford slashed prices on the 2023 Lightning, offering massive incentives, even sinking tens of thousands of dollars below sticker in some cases. Yet even such the steep markdowns have failed to reignite consumer interest. While bargains that sound like as much as $115,000 off the sticker noise like a sale bonanza, enthusiasm remains elusive. An analyst at CFRA, Garrett Nelson, put it plainly: there's a misalignment between what manufacturers are trying to push and what consumers actually want. In his view, EVs simply aren't practical, at least not yet for most buyers. Range anxiety persists, and the charging network remains insufficiently robust. As a result, even the buyers who want to do the right thing are put off by sticker shock and real-world utility limits. The misery isn't confined to Ford's bottom line. Workers who helped build these EVs are now paying the price. The automaker has already laid off hundreds of Lightning factory workers. Meanwhile, with electric vehicle assembly grinding to a crawl, more jobs are hanging in the balance. There's more than just consumer hesitancy at play here. Ford is wrestling with an enormously expensive transformation. Rewiring its supply chains, constructing battery plants, ramping EV-specific manufacturing, retraining its workforce. These are gigantic upfront costs. The company poured billions into a new battery factory in Michigan and built out EV assembly lines. In contrast to Tesla, which can benefit from cheaper overseas supply chains, Ford is stuck manufacturing domestically, where wages and material costs are higher. Those trade-offs, once justified as paying for resilience and Made in America credibility, now look like a drain as revenues don't materialize. And despite massive investments, it's not clear that the pricing strategy is working. The move to slash prices may have been intended to boost share or acceptance, but in the short term, it magnifies financial losses. Meanwhile, Ford dealers are undercutting profit margins further, reportedly marking up EVs with high premiums, or conversely, driving down the list prices so aggressively that they eat away at profitability either way. As CFO John Lawler has acknowledged, EV startups face deep losses as they scale capacity and market share. Ford, by contrast, is a legacy automaker with reputational heft, but it can't rely on brand goodwill indefinitely. When product isn't selling, goodwill turns to disappointment. And that shift in Farley's tone speaks volumes. Rather than pushing ever forward toward a fully electric future, the company appears to be pulling back. He framed it as a return to the bread and butter, what the common man loves, referring to affordable internal combustion cars. Meanwhile, Ford continues to offer hybrid options and reaffirmed its appreciation for internal combustion. Even as it maintains nominal investments in Model E, Ford's EV division. Indeed, while the EV push is being slowed, Ford's traditional division, Ford Blue, is getting renewed attention. Its president signaled plans to crank out hundreds of thousands more hybrid and combustion engine vehicles in the near term. Older models, updated hybrids like the Maverick, Ranger, and Explorer, are being spotlighted again, classic names that buyers still crave. That's a big shift from barely a year ago, when EVs were positioned as the future and gas models were the heritage fallback. That strategic rebalancing isn't unique to Ford. GM, too, has doubled down on both sides of the ledger. While continuing to invest in EV development, GM is plowing more than $2 billion this year into full-size gas trucks, SUVs, and a new generation of V8 engines, clearly signaling that internal combustion remains far from dead in Detroit's calculus. And Ford's decision to pull back is not happening in a vacuum. It's already started to ripple across the entire auto industry. When Ford, once the flag bearer of EV ambition, not only slows but shutters production of its Mach-e electric truck, it sends a chilling message about the viability of these vehicles at scale. Suddenly, the business case for full electrification looks more tentative. That shifting dynamic could push other major automakers and their suppliers, dealers, even investors to rethink timelines, investment levels, and messaging around EVs. To be clear, not everyone in the industry is calling for a ban on internal combustion. Some voices have gone as far as branding such mandates reckless, warning they could push middle-class buyers out of the market. Ford's own executives argue that the auto future is not binary. It won't be just ICE or battery. There will be hybrids, alternative fuels, and multiple propulsion paths coexisting for years to come. Commentary from Jeep, BMW, Mercedes, and others has echoed that sentiment, signaling a broader move inside the industry toward diversified energy platforms, not a one-size-fits-all EV future. Some of that innovation even points toward hydrogen or ammonia-powered fuel cells, especially as premium manufacturers look for emissions pathways beyond battery electrics. This backpedal by Ford, even if operationally sane given the losses, has dramatic implications. The F-150 Lightning, once Ford's flagship electric vehicle, now looks in peril. Production has been pulled, consumer enthusiasm has eroded, and the EV's shine is fading, counting down from flagship to footnote at breakneck speed. Ford finds itself caught in a paradox. On one hand, there's the clear, long-term desire to electrify and modernize. On the other, there's the brick-and-mortar reality of consumer preferences, infrastructure limitations, and a market still unwilling to pay the price. Farley's recent announcements reflect this tension. Ford will still invest in EV infrastructure, including lithium sourcing arrangements that support projected 2026 to 2030 electric vehicle output, but it will also aggressively recalibrate toward combustion and hybrid models. And soon. This balancing act, however pragmatic, raises existential questions. Is it too late to reverse course on EVs? Or conversely, could this be a fortifying moment, one that resets expectations and lands the company on firmer footing for a still electric but more financially sustainable future? Ultimately, the polarizing question remains: should internal combustion engine vehicles be phased out or preserved? And are electric vehicles overstated, impractical, or simply early for mass adoption? The Ford saga, in all its twists, may become the defining case study of that tension in motion. There's still time for Ford to recalibrate and refine. Better late than never, some may argue. But when an icon like the F-150 Lightning is yanked from assembly lines before its run was complete, the stakes feel monumentally high. Will Ford double down successfully on hybrids and gas alongside a more disciplined EV approach? That remains the question, and the auto world is watching, wide awake, to see how Detroit's biggest player steers its next turn.